Hello and welcome to a starter guide for Rise of the Witch King patch 2.02 version 8.4.0. This guide will be a general overview of everything that you will need to know to jump right into Rise of the Witch King action. The game and the patch can be found in the description below. Let's get started, shall we? Alrighty, so the first thing you will need to know when starting a match is how to place your first couple of farms when the game starts up. So we have a brand new game here in Skirmish. We have two builders, right? So what I like to do first, right from the get-go, is to select my builders with the hotkey B. Boom. Send this builder up towards the top hand side like this. And the second one, click B again and put him kind of over here. You want him kind of parallel to your fortress opening. That way you can make a farm kind of like right here. You want to keep in mind that you want 97% farms as your first, ideally 4 farms of the game. So just like this, 97%. And let's place it this way so the farm is facing outwards. The house here is facing outwards. And then once again, we're going to do the same thing up here. 97% farm facing outwards once again. We'll get into that later, but personal preference I have, making the farm kind of facing outwards. We'll get that, we'll get right into that shortly. So, we want to have 3 farms. This is not a build order, by the way. I'll get into build orders in a separate video. This is just farm placements for now, so don't do this. Like this. We would need production buildings, but right now we're just focusing on farms. So the third farm should be over here. 98% is fine. We don't want 96. So once again, face it this way. That way we have 3 farms kind of like in a triangular kind of pattern around our fort here. So why do we want to do this? Well, 97% farms give us the maximum amount of resources a farm can make. So that is plus 25. See, it's a little bit faint, but plus 25 each tick. So that's very important because it keeps your resources even. Here in the bottom left, we're getting an even amount of resources, like 12 or 1200, 1250. If you place a 96% farm, it'll be like kind of messed up. It won't be even at all. It'll just be all over the place. And that is very important because in the early game, you want to have an even amount of resources so you can afford your first units as soon as possible. Otherwise, you will not be able to. So, we have these farms here. So, 3 farms, 97. Ideally, you want your 4th farm to also be 97 or greater. And also your 5th farm. Sometimes it's hard to do that, so don't even keep track of that. Just your first 4 farms should be at least 97% or higher. And that is how to start your first farm placements of the match. And what I like to do as well, especially as Men of the West, I like to rotate my farm so this is facing, so this house is facing outwards. Why? Because I like to put my production buildings like this on top of the house. That way, the production building here, the barracks, will be protecting the farm. So, if an opponent comes, they will be forced to kind of move around this way or this way to attack the farm. That way, the fort will be in range to attack anyone that attacks this farm. So this is kind of like a kind of personal preference. You don't have to do this, but I like to do this because it's an added layer of protection. And also because the barracks has 3000 health and the farm it has 2000, so it's a bit tankier. Something to keep in mind though, this could backfire. They could just focus the barracks and you would just lose your production completely, so keep that in mind. And also what you need to do, you need to start used to hotkeying your production build. Like this barracks, I hotkey my production on 4, 5, and 6. So you want to select this and click Control 4. Control 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever you feel is comfortable. I like Control 4. And that way I can select my barracks from anywhere on the battlefield. Like I just click 4, boom, I have it there. And then I can make some Gondor warriors with the hotkeys or some pikemen here. If you don't want to use hotkeys for units, just click on the command cards down here. It's also quite easy to do, but make sure you hotkey your production buildings. Very important. And yeah, just a personal preference here. I like to defend my farms with these archery ranges and barracks and whatnot. Just a personal style I have here. So your first 3 farms are very important. You gotta defend them. And this is just one way I kind of like to defend them. An extra layer of defense. Alrighty. So, also hotkeys, right? Like barracks is 4. I like having my archery ranges on 5 and then stable on 6. That way I can cycle through all of them. Just like this. And I can just make units from across the battlefield. When I'm fighting, I can just make units. It's very nice. And once again, we'll go over power points later, but a quick way to select your powers from the start is to click the hotkey tilde, which is to the left of 1 on your keyboard. So tilde to the left of 1, boom, it brings this menu up. You can select Rallying Call, for instance, and then you click it once again. You don't have to click accept, just click tilde again, and boom, you have Rallying Call now. A little bit of an easy way to do that without clicking a bunch of buttons. And yeah, let's move on to the next part, which is going to be defenses. Alrighty, so moving on to defenses. Let's say this is the early game. Within the first 5 minutes here, the enemy has a pack of soldiers, right? And they're coming towards your base. They're coming to find this nice juicy farm for themselves, right? Here they come. They are coming to your base here. What you want to do to defend this farm, as soon as they are coming, you want to select the builder and build a wall hub right here, like kind of around the farm here. That way they cannot really attack it from this side. This will buy you enough time to hopefully get your own soldiers and to kind of fight these guys off. That way they cannot just easily go over here and pick off your farm for free. They will have to kind of micro around. They might get stuck on this wall hub a bit if they are moving here, but they also have to get into the fort range. And they will take some damage from that. They'll buy you some time. And hopefully you can kind of beat them back before then. You should have a pack of soldiers out, so you can maybe position your soldiers around here and hopefully save your farm. Make sure to cancel this wall hub though. Don't let it finish to free up your builder. So the fastest way to do this, select your builder, click W on your keyboard or whatever your hotkey is for wall hub, and then just place it like that. Boom, just like that. Buys you some extra time. Nice little defense there. And that is very important in the early game there. Also, pretty much middle game as well. Anytime. It's pretty good. Moving on, let's say we have a big force coming here. This usually happens in like team games, but it can happen in 1v1s as well. Say if they have a huge force here coming towards your fortress, right? They're sitting here, they're fully buffed. They're coming right for your fort. You notice that. See, they're coming right for your fort. You're like, oh crap, let's build. You gotta build wall hubs real quick. You're like, oh, help, 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 help. Build the wall hubs really quick around your fort. That way, they will get stuck all around your fort. They will not be able to attack your fort completely this way. And this will buy you some much needed time. Otherwise, if you do not build these wall hubs around your fort, they will take that fort down almost instantly. If you do this though, they will take quite some time because they have to kind of attack the wall hubs, and maybe some of them will get in between these wall hubs, but it will definitely buy you a ton of time. But that only applies to if they're going right for your fort and you see that. Pretty important, especially in team games. It happens a lot. when your army's like across the map and you see someone else coming for your fort real quick, you want to do this real fast, and it might save your fort. And also moving on, let's say you kind of have a farm here, kind of exposed or away from your main base, and you see a pack of units coming. Say this is the enemy pack here. They're coming to attack your farm, right? What you want to do, in most cases, you want to sell this farm before they can take it down for themselves. So you want them to get like super close to it and almost like start attacking it. Then you want to select it and click delete on your keyboard, or click demolish building like that. That way you get some money back from selling it, and your opponent will not get XP or power points. So that's also pretty important to think about throughout the whole game. And also one other thing, say your builder's kind of out in the open, right? Here comes a pack of units to attack your builder. What you can do here is you can select the builder and just build a wall hub. That way the builder is safe. These units cannot attack because the wall hub is very tanky. Only like monster units can pretty much take a wall hub down that's building. So that's a quick way to save your builder there. Just make sure to cancel it afterwards to free your builder once they are out of the danger zone there. And also one other thing about defenses here. Statues are a very, very important part of defense. You should have one around your base at some point in the game. I like kind of having mine around the barracks here and a little bit of area here. So what's so important about a statue is it gives you leadership around this whole entire area. That way your units actually gain 33% damage, 33% armor, and they become immune to fear and terror, which is very important in some matchups. So just a little neat thing to do for defense. To fight at your base if the enemy is very aggressive and are constantly attacking you at your base. This is a very good way to deal with that. And that's about it for defense for the most part. All the very simple things out of the way there. And yeah, let's next move on to stances. Alrighty, let's talk about stances in Rise of the Witch King. So obviously, Rise of the Witch King has 3 stances: the default, the aggressive, and the hold ground stance, which are all very, very useful when playing online and anywhere else. So, say this is your army. Let's go over the stances though. So, aggressive stance gives you damage and minus armor. Battle stance gives you nothing, or default stance doesn't give you anything really. Hold ground stance gives you armor but minuses your damage. And for things like cav, it also minuses speed. And right, so this is an army. Yes, indeed. Yeah, that's an army. It's an army that you might likely have as Gondor in the mid to late game here. We're gonna have Athelians and tower guards mostly, maybe some swordsmen. And what you want to do, you want to put your front line always in defensive mode or hold ground stance. That way they can tank as much damage as possible, because you gotta think that the front line is not your damage dealers. These guys are the tanks. They tank for your back line here, which are your Athelians, your trebuchets, your heroes, whatnot. What may you have in the back there. So you want to put your front line on defensive stance while your archers on aggressive stance. That way they can deal out as much damage as they possibly can in the back line being defended there. So you're going to have a lot of pikes and archers. It's a very common unit comp in Rise of the Witch King for many factions. So what you want to do in most cases, you want to have your pikes pretty close to your archers here. Maybe actually like in them a bit here. And then just go into porcupine stance. And to defend them as much as possible, ideally, you want to protect them from any kind of cav charges or any kind of tramples. That way they are safe in the back line and all safe from action. Also, keep in mind that whenever you go into a defensive mode or hold ground stance and you A move, A and right click, your front line will not actually automatically attack units and hold ground stance. They will act as a move command instead of an attack command, which you gotta keep that in mind, because if you select this whole army, A move, these guys here in defensive stance will not actually auto attack. They will just kind of derp around and like move command into the enemy, and I think they will only kind of attack if something's in front of them to attack. So keep that in mind, because there's especially for heroes, if you have your hero and hold ground stance and you A click him to move him into attack, he will not actually attack anything. He'll just kind of walk into the enemy and yeah, he won't do anything. He'll just die. So keep that in mind with hold ground stance. Alrighty, moving on. So, common comp here, right? And let's say the enemy, say they have cav, right? Here's the enemy cav. They're coming on in, right? And they're gonna try to threaten your archers in the back, right? So they're gonna try to maybe flank on in here, maybe find an opening to get into your back line here potentially, and they will go for your archers here, right? So if these cav actually reach your archers, you want to quickly select all your archers and put them quickly in a hold ground stance. That way, when these guys will actually trample your archers, they will actually survive with 1 HP most of the time. Otherwise, if they are in aggressive stance, they will just die instantly from any kind of cav trample. So keep that in mind when you're microing out on the battlefield. Make sure to really make use of these stances. So if the cav is coming towards your archers, you put them on defense. Cav, they might live, they might not. Also, keep in mind that Rise of the Witch King also has flank damage. So if your archers are facing like this way, the cav is coming from behind this way, your archers will actually take flank damage like this, and they will instantly evaporate from the game. So if that happens, just make sure your archers kind of turn towards the cav. That way they will not actually take flank damage. And if they are in defensive stance, they might actually survive that trample. At least one trample. So very important to keep in mind there. Also, when attacking buildings, you want your infantry to be in aggressive stance. That way they can attack the buildings and take them down quickly. Archers deal pretty much nothing to buildings, so don't attack buildings with archers ever. It's a common problem. You do not want to right click a building with non-fire arrow archers. They will do 0 damage. So keep that in mind. Use your melee units to attack buildings and keep your archers close to them with the S key, which is stop. Right, you don't want to attack buildings with these guys. If you have fire arrows, then sure, you can attack buildings, but yeah, keep that in mind as well. Alright, so another important thing to keep in mind in this game is, say you're clumped here, right? You're really clumped. And say your enemy has some Athelians or an arrow volley PowerPoint, right? They have this available. They see your armies all clumped up, right? Say this is the enemy unit here. And then they're gonna use this on you, right? Which is the long shot. So, if you see this coming, like this, you want to select all your guys and click X on the keyboard. Boom. Just select your whole army and click X. That way, everything splits out evenly across the like this area. So just select your army and then click X right there. Boom. And then your army will split automatically, so you don't even have to micro that, which is a very important thing to keep in mind. Obviously, one pack of archers with long shots will not kill anything, but if they do have arrow volley will destroy this whole army, so keep that in mind. Boom, just quickly click X whenever that happens. And also, if you have siege, you want your siege to always be an aggressive stance. That way it gains 15% range bonus. Very, very important. Most of the time, you almost always want to keep this in aggressive stance, unless it's getting attacked or what have you. Right. I believe that covers most of the things in regards to stances. I believe I've covered mostly what I know so far. So let's move on to the next section, which is going to be clumping. Alrighty, let's move on to clumping. Let's keep this a bit short. It's already been a bit long here. So with clumping, what clumping means is you want to get your units' positions in a way so that they all attack a specific target. Like for this warg here, I'm moving in close to the warg so I can have all of them attack the warg at the same time. Clumping is usually best against buildings. So what I mean by that, say I have this building, right? If I just right click on this, for instance, not all of my units are going to be able to attack it. See how only like 3 or 4 guys are attacking it? That is not very effective. So what you want to do is you want to select your guys and kind of move behind this building, for instance. See, move behind it. Your guys will kind of go over here, aggressive stance, boom, and then attack it. Now all of them are pretty much attacking that lair, just like that. It's a lot quicker. You definitely want to use this against your opponent's buildings and lairs and whatnot. Just a very quick way of taking down buildings. And also can be used against heroes. There's a hero here, for instance. If you have a big army, you can kind of move command into him a bit, surround him completely, and then boom, just completely nuke him out of existence. Otherwise, if you don't do that and you just aim move, and he's going to be like standing here, your guys are going to be here, and only like your front row will be attacking the hero. So another thing to keep in mind, this game does have an alt or shift click system. What you do for that is you hold down the alt key and then you right click to form waypoints. A lot of people actually don't know this exists, and it can be a pretty important thing to keep in mind here. Also, you can patrol with this. Say you do this. Let's make like a patrol route like this. Boom, connect them all together by clicking on them. And your units will kind of patrol here. Well, not very useful in this game, but you can do this. And also you can do this on like camps, for example. Like, see, I want to attack this guy, then alt click this guy, and then click on this layer as well. And my guys will do that automatically now, in case I have to go back to my base to micro something. And you want to clump here, go behind this building, and then attack them so that most of your guys will start attacking that layer. Also, on your keyboard, you can press H to go back to your main base at any point. Something I forgot to include. So if you're over here and you click H, you're back at your home base. And you can queue up or defend or what have you. Alrighty, another thing is, if you're back here and you're harassing your opponent, right? You killed a farm, say that was a farm. Say that was your opponent's farm. And then you're kind of like, what do I do next? You can actually hold ground stance your units, put them inside of trees, and these units will actually become invisible to your enemy. So you can kind of just put them here, make sure it's hold ground stance, and your opponent will not be able to see these units unless he gets close to them. And that could be a very nice sneaky play that you employ in your battles, and it can be pretty nice at times. Alrighty, let's move on to creeping, shall we? Alrighty, let's move on to creeping, a very important part of the game. So here we are once again as Gondor. We have some Rohan Spearmen. Rohan Spearmen are the worst pikemen in the game. So creeping with them can be rather difficult in some circumstances. Especially against the trolls. They're fine against wargs and goblins and the weak ones, but against trolls, it's a bit dicey at times. So, for instance, if I just selected these guys and attack moved this troll, these guys would get obliterated in an instant. They would all just completely die. So you don't want to do that. So the way to creep is, right. I'll show you in a sec. This is actually kind of, this can be quite difficult to creep this way. Sometimes it just doesn't go your way. And even really good players mess this up at times. So I might fail here. So the best case scenario is you lose nothing. You don't get hit even. Best case here. Medium case, you get hit a bit, but you still take down the troll and the lair. And of course, worst case is you lose everything. And sometimes that does happen, but rarely. So, for instance, Isengard, Dwarves, and Mordor all have pikemen that you can just literally A-move and you can probably take down this troll without microing it, right? Because those pikes are pretty strong, but with other factions like Rohan Spearmen and whatnot, they can actually go down. If you just A-click, they will. So let's try to get this going. Another thing to keep in mind that when you do this, sometimes your units get feared and they kind of just freeze up and do nothing. They kind of like panic. That is a mechanic in this game, which is kind of a weird mechanic. I don't know why it's in the game. And it does happen against the troll sometimes, quite a bit actually, so keep that in mind. A way to counter the panic is you click spear wall formation real quick, and then you can move on out of there whenever that happens. So let's see if I can do this first try. Might take a few tries or two. So let's see, let's kind of lure this troll out. See, like this, boom boom boom, let's get to him. He's gonna trigger on us soon, maybe. There he is. Let's move back. And as soon as he goes back, we're gonna stab him right in the back as he's going back to his base. Just like that. We got hit once, but that's fine. We are going to be able to take him down. This is like the medium case scenario. Losing a few of our pikes, but we will actually take this down. Let's try it again, though. Alrighty, while we're waiting for that other troll to spawn, I'll show you guys a much more simpler and a much more safer way to creep a troll, and that requires the use of a builder. So you kind of want to do the same kind of thing. So the trick here is these lairs have a leash range, so the troll will only go around a certain part of his lair at the maximum, right? If he goes like here, he'll start walking back and he will not attack anything on his way back to his lair until he kind of resets, and then he kind of becomes aggro again. So you want to make use of that by the builder. So the builder's going to lure him out. The troll's going to leave his leash range here, and he's going to start walking back. And while that's happening, you want to sneak these pikemen kind of in the back behind him and start attacking him as he's walking back. This is way safer and a lot more easier. So let's try it here. Builder, get the builder here. Attract the troll with the builder. He's gonna aggro on him. There he goes. Get the pikeman here. Kind of go up behind him. Builder's gonna leave the leash range. Troll's gonna go walk back and boom, aggressive stance and attack the troll as he's going back to his base. And there we have it, guys. That's a very easy way to creep without pretty much any risk. We took a hit there, but that's fine. These guys will just take down this lair and level up from it. So no problem there whatsoever. And once again, clump around the lair to take it down quickly. And make sure to kill that rubble as well. And of course, you want to grab the outpost or the inn. Don't skip this. Grabbing the inn is pretty important in most cases. Some factions have some really good units in the inn. And plus, if they're not really good, you can also just kind of harass your opponent from this side, which is also very nice. Alrighty. Alrighty, here we are, take 2 once again up here. Let's try this again. Let's lure him in. And as soon as he comes at us here, we're gonna go back. And gonna have to time it like here. There we go, perfect. We did time it pretty much spot on there. It's a very small timing window. It's still not perfect, but it works out. We didn't lose anything. We're gonna clump around this lair once again. Make sure all of our guys are attacking it. Boom, and there we have it once again. That is a... that's kind of like the quick way to creep. I don't like using the builder creep most of the time because it just takes a bit of more time and your builder is kind of running around playing tag with the troll while he can actually be used for building wall hubs and farms and whatnot. Alright, so another thing to keep in mind, archers cannot creep lairs very well at all. They can creep the wargs, for instance, very well. They do well against the wargs here. But as soon as you start attacking the lair with the archers, they do 0 damage to the lair. So keep that in mind if you're trying to creep with archers, because look at this. Let's attack this lair. And yeah, it's doing just about nothing there, so keep that in mind. And once again, creeping is very important. Your units level up from creeping. See, these guys are level 2 now. You also get power points, so we got just about 2.5 power points from these 2 troll lairs. So very nice there indeed. And yeah, let's move on to experience in the next part here. Alrighty, moving on to experience, a pretty quick one here. So if you have a hero, for instance, like the lovely Lady Eowyn here, and you have a pack of archers, right? You can actually just put Eowyn inside of your archer battalions, put her in hold ground stance, and while your archers are actually destroying some orcs, Lady Eowyn will actually start to passively gain experience from the archers. So that's one thing you can do to kind of mitigate risk from your hero being taken out in the middle of a army. So that is one thing you can do to passively get some experience safely and effectively. This is very nice to have with a leadership hero like Theoden. You want to keep Theoden safe. He'll get some passive XP and he'll grant leadership to your archers and whatnot. And one other quick little thing here is in this game, if you have a hero, heroes have abilities like, for instance, Eowyn starts with Smite. You can actually right-click Smite and it will start auto-casting this. So it will automatically target whatever is in range and will automatically use this. For instance, let's see how it works against these wargs. Let's kind of move her towards the wargs and you'll see that she'll start to automatically use Smite here. Potentially. Maybe. Maybe she doesn't do it on the creeps. You're gonna use it? I thought they did. Huh. And what is she doing anyways? Hello? Huh. Sometimes they use it on creeps, but I guess they changed that. Maybe on AON. But I know sometimes they do, but they will use it on enemy units. That is for certain, automatically. Let's see if she does it. Nah, she's not. Oh well. It worked on enemy units, So keep that in mind if you want to have like a quick and a lazy way of doing that. Sometimes it's not really worth it though. They will target like random stuff that's not really worth it. And if you're retreating and you have this on, they will actually stop mid-retreat and start using abilities. And they will be taken out because they stopped to use this, so keep that in mind. It's only if you're super lazy and you don't have really micro abilities. Alrighty, let's move on to the next part. Alright, so a few things before we go into buffs. Some factions in Rise of the Witch King have upgrades on their fort called like banners and whatnot. I believe Men of the West, Dwarves, Angmar, and Mordor have this first upgrade on their fort. This one's kind of important in some stances because they reduce your hero costs and recruitment time and builder costs and stuff like that. So for instance, if we pick banners for now as Men in the West and we go to heroes, Gandalf is 4,000, Aragorn is 2,500, and once banners finishes up here, they will be significantly cheaper to recruit. There we go, banners, Gandalf is now 3,600, Aragorn 2,250. A bit of a significant boost there. It all adds up. Especially since every single hero gets that reduction. Alright, another really quick thing for whenever you're playing as elves or Isengard, your fort has an upgrade that reduces your cost of upgrades for your units. The Elven one's really cheap, I believe Isengard's is a bit more expensive, but Elven one's always worth it. Only 500 and it reduces upgrade cost by 17%. So once you have a forge, you got your upgrades all researched. Usually it costs 200 for forged blades and armor and 80 for banners. And once this upgrade researches, it's going to be a bit more cheaper here. So 166 for forged blades and armor and 66 for banner carriers. And that adds up to a lot, considering you're going to be upgrading a ton of units in the late game. And very important to keep that in mind for the late game whenever you go into upgrades. Make sure you always grab an enchanted anvil if you're playing elves, and the Isengard one as well. It does come in handy quite a bit. So yeah, let's move on to that last part, and that's going to be buffs, leadership, and spells. Alrighty, here we are at the last part of this general guide here. I'm going to be talking about buffs, leadership, and spells. So starting off with buffs. Buffs are non-stackable. That means you cannot stack them together. It just won't work. So some of the common buffs are Rallying Call, War Chant, Elven Wood, Tainted Land, Gore Kills Totem, Warg Howl, and the unit charges that they get at level 2, which I believe are Guardians, Numenorians, and Half Trolls. Once they get level 2, they do get an ability to charge. So a common problem that you see if someone is unfamiliar with the system is that people will use Rallying Call, say, with Elven Wood together, which does absolutely nothing. You're just wasting one of these completely. And keep that in mind for buffs that they are non-stackable. All of these cannot actually be stacked together. Now, moving on to leadership. Leadership, once again, is also non-stackable. So if multiple heroes have leadership, it does not stack. So leadership includes the hero's leadership, fortress upgrades, the good faction statues, their statues, Frozen Land, which is an Angmar power point, Eye of Sauron, Drummer Trolls, and Knights of Dol Amroth. So once again, these are not stackable. And moving on to the last bit here, we're gonna have spells which actually are stackable, but keep in mind you cannot stack the same spell multiple times. It's different spells which are stackable, which includes Darkness, Glorfindel's Starlight, Morgamir's Dark Glory, King Dane's Mighty Rage, Sorcerer's Fell Strength, and the Horde bonus that Orcs and Goblins get. Also, quite an unknown thing about this game. Many players are a bit... probably don't even notice this at all, is that if you have a huge group of Orcs or Goblins together, they actually get a buff, which is called Horde bonus. Or I guess this would be a spell, which makes them a bit stronger when they're clumped up together, which is very, very useful in some cases, especially if you have the Horde bonus and say Cav or coming to trample you, you can actually kind of destroy the Cav with the Horde bonus in some cases. Alrighty, so once again, buffs are non-stackable, leadership is non-stackable, and spells are stackable, but not the same spells. So if you have like 2 darknesses or whatever, that's not gonna stack. Right, so also very important part of the game are debuffs. Very, very important. So there are 2 types of debuffs and 1 unique. So the first one is the passive debuff, which enemy units suffer minus 25% damage and minus 25% armor. But the passive debuff does not cancel leadership, while the active one, which is called a nullifier, actually cancels leadership. Very, very important. And also, Dread Wraith is a special one, a very unique one that only the Witch King gets. So the Witch King for Angmar and the Witch King for Mordor, which also cancels leadership and also is a bit stronger, minus 33%. I mean, rightly so, Witch King, of course, is the Witch King, so he does have that Dread Wrath there. Alright, so some of the common passive debuffs are Morgamir's Dread Visage, the Nazgul's Dread Visage, Fortress Blessed Mist, House of Lamentation, Gatewatcher Expansion, which is a fort expansion for Mordor, and the Dark Ranger's Death Masks, an Angmar unit. And some of the active ones are Crebain, Cave Bats and Shrouding Mist, Mouth of Sauron's Doubt, Wormtongue's Venomous Words, Dane's Mighty Rage, Freezing Rain, and a Barrow-White Touch. Not sure what that is, but sounds kinky, I guess, when they touch you or something, huh? Barrow-Whites. And of course the Dread Wraith, Mordor's and Angmar's Witch King gets that as a passive. Very, very strong. And those are the debuffs there. Active ones are incredibly strong, like Crebain, Cave Bats, and Shrouding Mist, a level 10 power point for elves. These are very strong because they cancel leadership. So if you have like King Theoden and you use an active debuff on him, that will just cancel his leadership completely. Very, very important to keep in mind there. And one of the main reasons why Isengard is incredibly strong is because they have Crebain, while they also have War Chant. So they use War Chant on their units, and then they use Crebain on your army. And yeah, they'll just destroy you completely outright, especially early on in the game. So these are just buffs, leadership spells, and the debuffs. Keep in mind there. These are just, there might be more that's missing here, but these are the most common ones here. And yeah, very important to keep track of them all. Alrighty guys, I hope you enjoyed that little guide. It went on for quite a long time actually. But yeah, please feel free to leave a like and sub if you want to see more stuff like this. I'll be doing a build order kind of guide as well for the next few videos, and maybe some brutal AI videos. We'll see about that. Feel free to follow me on Twitch. I'm streaming there from time to time. Link's gonna be in the description, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this little guide. And yeah, until next time guys, take care and peace.